What's up, guys? So it's Firebro here, and I'm starting a new video series called it's not called anything, but it's a new series where I'm going to be showing off games I collected for various systems, and I'm going to do mini reviews for them and kind of either recommend them to you guys or not recommend them to you guys. And the reason why I started collecting retro video games again is for two reasons. Reason number one is that a lot of these mainstream titles and a lot of these AAA titles are becoming just worse and worse. You're talking about incomplete games, really expensive games, bad patches, just microtransaction, BS battle passes, you name it. It's just the industry is going downhill. Indie games are really good right now, but just the mainstream gaming market is just trash in my opinion. So for me to kind of just enjoy my life and play video games, I can't do the mainstream games anymore. Oops. I gotta collect for the retro video games, which are both really pretty affordable for the most part. You know, it depends on what you pick up. And they're also really fun, and they give you more content than, in my opinion, the current games that the industry is churning out at this moment. The second reason why I'm collecting video games again is because, you know, any hint of that last sentence is that I used to collect retro video games growing up as a kid. Now I grew up on the Nintendo 64, the GameCube, the Wii, and the Wii U. And even during that time span, I used to get Nintendo 64 games back in 2007, 2008, games that I didn't have growing up. So, for example, I didn't have Banjo-Kazooie, I didn't have Pokemon Stadium 1 or 2, I didn't have Mario Party 2 for some reason. So I used to buy those games and try them out as a kid. Middle school, I used to collect Super Nintendo games. I bought a Super Nintendo for myself, and I got Donkey Kong Country, I got Super Mario Kart, I got Street Fighter 2, and so on and so forth. So retro video games has been kind of a big passion of mine, and I want to get back into it because I love playing older video games. So what I do usually for collecting video games is that I have a set budget per month. For me, myself, is $100 per month. Everyone's a little bit different. Some people are more, some people are less, but that's what I do. $100 a month, I try to find games that I like to play, that I'm going to play, and games that I find interesting to try out. I don't collect games that I don't plan on playing at all. I don't collect games that are just stupid expensive that I'm not going to try at all. And that's basically it. Today's video, I have 5 games I'm going to show off, give you the price of the game, the general story, the general gameplay, and the pros and cons, and whether I recommend it to you guys, given the current price of the game. So the first game I'm going to talk about is Blast Corps for the Nintendo 64. Now, Blast Corps, for those who don't know, and I didn't know this either, it's a Rareware title, which I didn't even know, period. I thought I knew every single Rareware game for the Super Nintendo and the GameCube, and the Nintendo 64 as well. I kind of messed up there, but this was one of those titles that I was shocked to find out this game was made by Rareware, and it's a pretty decent game. So for loose copies, it's going for like 15 to 18 bucks, give or take, right now. Complete in box, 50 bucks. But for me personally, I go for loose in box just because complete in box can get pretty pricey pretty quickly. So at least for my shelf, I like to get them loose. If you're not like that, then it's gonna be up to you whether you assess whether it's worth it or not. The story of this game is basically there's this nuclear warhead that's on this vehicle, and it's just loose. No one can stop it at all. It's just driving very slowly, and if it hits anything, whether that's a tree, a person, or a building, the whole world blows up. So your job as a Blast Corps is to destroy literally everything in its path so that the truck or vehicle with the warhead smoothly sails through and doesn't blow up the world. Now, the ironic part of the story, obviously, is that you're destroying everything in the path in order to avoid destruction, which is pretty funny in my opinion. Now, how do you destroy everything in this warhead's path? The game gives you all these different vehicles to try out with, each with its different gameplay mechanics. One of them, it's a car where you kind of like swerve into buildings and it blows up. Another vehicle is basically just like a bulldozer, to my knowledge, where you push an object and it blows stuff up. Another one is like kind of like a rally car where you're basically just like jumping off cliffs and you're like nose diving into the buildings and stuff. Another one is like a side slam vehicle where like two like spring things come out and it just like destroys vehicles like that. Another one is like a gun, so you're just like it's like a tart, so you're in a car and you're just blowing up stuff with all these like missiles and bullets and stuff. And then there's some robots too. So one of them is like basically just like a sitting one. You're flying high and you just drop down. You sit on the buildings and they blow up. Another one is like a body slam one, where you're basically just like body slamming or doing uppercuts towards all these buildings. And if you haven't noticed yet, all these vehicles are just blowing up buildings. There's a lot of explosions, a lot of blow up sounds, and it's really fun and like satisfying at first just to like blow everything up in your way to like avoid this nuclear warhead from going off. It's really cool to see. And then it's just exhilarating to blow up all these different buildings and stuff. Um, the con about this game is that the controls, understandably so, you know, you can either give us a point or remove a point from this from the review. Is that the controls are very hit or miss. They're very hit or miss, and a good part of this is because it's a launch title for the first 3D Nintendo system. So the developers were aware they didn't know what they were doing when making the vehicles and stuff. So it's unresponsive at times. It doesn't do what you want to do, especially when you leave a vehicle. It does not respond at all. You leave the vehicle. If you press forward on the control stick, it'll go back. It'll go to the left. It'll go to the right. Whatever it feels like doing that day, it'll go in that direction. And it gets infuriating, especially in the later missions where you have to be like pretty precise in terms of like destroying all the buildings on time so the warhead doesn't destroy it. So when it comes to that regard, it gets kind of frustrating, and it's a kind of a major down point for this game, because if it wasn't for the controls, this game would be super fun, and I would have beat it 100%. You know, would I recommend this game at $15? It's very hard to recommend this game. If there was some sort of mod for it, or if there was a way where this game did not have the back controls, I would recommend it without a doubt. The gameplay idea is there, but the execution is ever so slightly off. Sometimes it's really fun, other times it's really infuriating, and it's a pretty tough game, partly because of the controls and partly because of the game design itself. So if the controls weren't that bad, I would say buy it, but it's a hard sell. So it's like, you know, if you want a game for your collection that's cheaper, try it out, but I cannot give my full seal approval for this game. So the next game on my list is actually Yoshi's New Island for the Nintendo 3DS. Now this symbol right here is the World Edition. Now for some reason or not, people don't want to buy this edition of the game. There's a lot of games with the World Edition, and basically it's like the Middle East countries like the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Malaysia, Singapore, and so on and so forth. So it works perfectly fine. No FPS drops, no mods or anything. It runs exactly the same as a US version or a Canada version of Yoshi's New Island, but for some reason, people don't want to buy it. And for that reason, you can buy this game brand spanking new, still 10 years later, for $30, which is incredible. Like, honestly incredible. Complete a box, $15, lose 14. For me personally, I kind of missed out on the 3DS in the later lifespan of my life towards college. So I like to buy the newer versions of the game, even if it's a world version of the game. I don't mind it at all. So I love opening the game itself. I get a rush from opening new games. So for $30 for a new 3DS game, it's definitely, like, for me, I like to try it out at least once, even if I don't like the game. So there's no manual for some reason, which I think that's part of the World Edition. It doesn't come with a manual, which is whatever it is, what it is. But the game looks like that. And basically, if you don't know what the story of Yoshi's Island is, or New Island, or whatever Yoshi's Island game you want to talk about, basically Baby Luigi's kidnapped, and you have to save Baby Luigi with using Yoshi and Baby Mario. Baby Mario basically does nothing. He just sits on your back, and if you get hit, he starts crying, the timer goes off, and if the timer reaches 0, then it's game over. The game is pretty easy. It's an easy game. It gets challenging if you want to do all the collectibles and stuff, but the game is pretty bare bones. It's a decent game. It's not a bad game per se. It's very mediocre. There's nothing really going for it. The design is very uninspiring. The levels are very meh looking. The gyro controls are pretty cool at times. It gets old pretty fast though. And the music, oh my god, the music is just, it's not even hit. It's like, it's either forgettable or it's memorable in a bad way. Like in terms of there's like gazoos in this game. There's literally gazoos in this game, and it goes off in your head nonstop. And at moments playing this game, I had to just mute the game. I was like, I can't do this today. I'm not listening to kazoos. I'm not a kid. I'm not doing this stuff. So in terms of that, it's like the music is very mediocre to bad. The design of it is meh. It's like the worst looking Yoshi Island game in my opinion. I think the DS version is even better than this in terms of visuals, and the original, without a doubt, looks incredible. Not because it's original, just because it just looks really good. You know, I would say for complete $15, if you like Yoshi games, it's all right. I think if $15 is not that bad for a game. Yeah, maybe just skip it. I would say skip the game. You're not really missing anything. But if you're a diehard Yoshi fan, it's not a bad price. $15 used, complete in box. $30 new, great deal. But I would buy it either just as a Yoshi fan, as a Nintendo fan, or just someone who wants a game, who wants their 3DS collection complete with all the first party titles, and that's really it. So the next game on this list is actually an original Xbox game. And for some reason or another, original Xbox games are very affordable to collect for right now, and I kind of recommend you guys just to check it out a little bit. A lot of the games I've been collecting for the original Xbox are like 5, 7, 10, 5, 7, 9 bucks each. Complete in box, not even just loose or just disc only. It's like complete in box, 5 to 10 bucks, which is very, very cheap considering this economy. So, the game I'm referring to today, at least, is the original Fable. There's the anniversary edition for, I think, for PC and like the Xbox One and Series X, but this is the original Fable. Now this is a box, comes with a manual, which is pretty hefty, which is pretty cool. I haven't finished the manual, but I kind of want to read it later on tonight, see what I missed. And then the disc itself, obviously, is only $7. This whole thing is $7, which is crazy to think about, considering the fact this game is about 20 years old, give or take. So the game story is pretty simple. The lore is probably more intense, but the story is pretty simple. You're born into a village, and these marauders come to your village, and the main bad guy comes to your village. He basically kills everybody, or not kills everybody, but he kills all the villagers. He kills your dad. He kidnaps your mom. He slashes your sister's eyes out. This is pretty intense, I know. And then you're just left by yourself. The guild master comes to save the day. He brings you to the main guild where all the heroes train, and you grow up pretty quickly to become a hero. And from that point forward, the game basically unofficially starts. You can basically become a hero, or you can become a villain based off the actions that you do. You can either help people out, or you can kill them. You can steal stuff. You can give stuff away. You can start a family. I think you can start a family. That might be false. I know you can make love and marry someone. You can customize your character in terms of just appearance, tattoos, haircut style, beard. You can customize your class. You can become an all-rounder. You can become a melee fighter. You can become a ranged fighter. You can become a stealth guy. You can become a wizard guy. It's pretty neat. It's a pretty decent game. Now, without doing any of the side quests, without doing any of the extra stuff in the game that's optional, I beat this game in about 7 to 8 hours. I beat this game, which is pretty good for a $7 game. That's like $1 an hour, which is pretty good. And that's without doing any of the extra stuff. So if you're really into RPGs, which this game is really good, if I had more time in my life to play video games, I would probably play this way more. I'd probably sink like 15 to 20 hours in this game, doing the side quests, doing all the little nitty gritty things, maybe doing different paths to like kind of do the bad guy story, the neutral side, the good story, and then there's also different paths as well within that. So like there's like you can start off good and then end bad. You can start out bad and end good. You can start bad and end bad. Start good, end good, so on and so forth. So there's different paths in the game. It's pretty interesting, and I think for the bang of your buck, if you played this game fully through with everything in it, 15 hours at least. $7 is it's honestly a steal of a game. Like if you want to try it out, like I don't see why not. If you have an original Xbox, try it out. Now the next game on this list is the original Star Fox for the Super Nintendo. Now this game currently is only $16, 15 to $16 loose. Complete in box, it's like $60. Now me personally, like as a late millennial, early Gen Z kind of guy, it's like I don't really care about the boxes for like N64 and earlier, so I don't really have much attachment to it, and I think it's too expensive. So I usually go loose for all those games in that generation and earlier. It has the FX chip, it gives it 3D graphics, and it's pretty cool. It's a timestamp into history. Andros takes over, you have to save the day, you have to destroy Andros, and do all the cool little stuff. You have to beat all the enemies with your little spaceship, shoot them all down, save Peppy, save Slippy, save Falco from being shot out at every mission. And it's pretty cool. The graphics are really cool and unique. The music's amazing, like goddamn, for like SNES music, goddamn pristine music. Visuals are really nice, like I said, and it's pretty difficult. I have to say, it's a pretty hard game. There's 3 different paths in the game. There's like an easy path, a medium path, and a hard path. And all 3 paths, I can't talk right now, have different stages to it, which is really nice. So just because you play medium does not mean you're going to get the same stages as easy mode. They're all different and unique in its own set of ways. Like Sector Z is going to be in the hard mode, and I believe Sector Y is in the medium mode. And I might be wrong about that, but all the stages are within that confines of that difficulty zone, which is really nice. So each playthrough that you go through, not each playthrough, but like the 3 playthroughs that you're gonna complete are all gonna be different in its own regard, which is really nice. The easy mode I beat after like 4 or 5 tries. Medium mode, forget about it. I was raging nonstop. I eventually beat it, and it felt pretty good. It was like, yes, I beat this. Let me try hard mode. In hard mode, I got through stage 3, and I kept on losing. I'm like, you know what? I tried. That's all that matters. So, it's pretty difficult. If you're into harder games, I would say definitely give it a shot. The only con about this game, and it's not even a con, it's like, it's how you look at it. Sometimes frame rate issues can be bad. I think for this game, it drops pretty low. But, like, part of it is, like, you kind of have to accept the fact that, for the first 3D game for the Super Nintendo, that's pretty impressive. You're gonna have frame rate drops, and it actually makes it easier to play as well, because there's so much stuff going on especially in the later levels. So that frame rate drop is actually kind of like a cheat code in a sense. And I think for $15, you get a decent amount of playtime with it, and the music's really good, and the gameplay is really good. There's not very many cons to it. Like, the frame rate drops aren't that big of a deal in my opinion. So I think if you want to go back in time and kind of see the kind of like the revolutionary first 3D spaceship shooter for a console, to my knowledge, I might be wrong, give Star Fox for the Super Nintendo a shot. $15 is a great deal for a game like this, which would give you probably about, like, if you never played it before and you're not that good of a gamer like I am, 5 to 7 hours. That's what I think, because you're gonna keep on losing. But if you're really good, maybe 2 hours. But hey, $15 for me, that's a good deal. So the last game on this list is a game that I originally had growing up, but I lost a cartridge for it, but I had the box still. So all I had to do was buy the cartridge, and that was it. And that game, if I can pull it up right here, is Pilot Wings Resort for the Nintendo 3DS. Now, this game was a launch title for the 3DS, and it used the 3D graphics pretty well, in my opinion. The game right now, loose, if you don't want to buy the box version of the game, which I can understand. Some people just want to buy like a sleeve collection and have all the cartridges in there. I like to buy the box for the handheld systems if they're not too expensive. Game Boy gets kind of murky, but DS and 3DS games so far are pretty relatively reasonable in price. It's only $10 loose, $17 complete in box, which is not bad. We're kind of getting to that particular theme of it's like $10 to $15. That's where I'm going for these games at the beginning of my journey. That's what it looks like right there. And the objective of this game is that you are on Woohoo Island. And for those who don't know, for some reason, I don't know what's wrong with you, but you're on Woohoo Island, the Wii Sports Resort Island, where all the means hang out and go on vacation. And you have 3 vehicles to choose from. You have a paraglider, you have a jetpack, and you have just like a plane. And you do all these missions, like falling planes around, doing all these little tricks, collecting balloons, landing in the right spots, doing all these little missions. And there's different variants to the vehicles as well. So like for the plane, there's like a jet fighter, which goes way faster. It goes like 150 miles per hour. The jetpack, similar thing. It's like a larger jetpack and it goes way faster. There's a flying squirrel part in the game, which it's only one mission with the flying squirrel, which is kind of disappointing. I wish they utilize that more. So that's that's a mini con, not much of a con. And then there's a paraglider with the alternate paraglider with the bicycle pedals and stuff. So that's the alternate version of the paraglider. So you get 6 vehicles in total to try out with. Each of them has different missions for them. You have to complete them. You get prizes if you complete them. And the cherry on top of this game, at least in my opinion, is a free play mode. The free play mode is really fun, like really, really fun. You get to fly around, get collectibles on the island. You get to just explore the island in its true form, which is so cool and super nostalgic as a kid who grew up on the Wii and the 3DS. So the only con about this is that it gives you a time limit for some stupid reason. It gives you, I think, a minute at first, and you have to collect enough balloons to get 30 seconds, and then you collect another 10 balloons, and then it gives you another 30 seconds, and so on and so forth, which is kind of lame. It caps you at 5 minutes, and I'm like, what's going on here? You got to give you at least, like, just take off the time limit. If this gave me, like, unlimited time, I would be cruising Woohoo Island for, like, at least 20 or 15 minutes a day, for at least for a week, like, realistically, because you don't want that time limit. You just want to explore the island with no restrictions whatsoever. So it's kind of like a free play mode, but it really isn't a free play mode, which is a bummer. That's the only big con about it, but it's not that big of a con. Well, it's not going to make the game worse than it actually is, if that makes any sense. So, with that being said, $17 complete. You get about, like, 5 hours of gameplay with it, which, like, for a launch title, it's alright. You know, it's not that long of a game, but I think just having the game, just trying it out, it's a fun game. It's a fun short game, and I think for $17, it's definitely worth it in my opinion. And that's basically it. So those are the 5 games that I've reviewed and bought so far. I had a second batch of games down here, but like I kind of waited off on it because I want to I didn't want to make this video too long. So that's basically it. I will do a part 2 pretty soon, discussing those games. And let me know down below what you guys think. But that's it. I don't know how to end this video, but thanks for watching, guys. Peace.